Hello everyone, my name is Dhruv Tomar and I am an intern at LEXIS and Company. So today in this video we are going to talk about one of the most interesting Indian constitution and as well as I guess our fundamental right. So yes, I am talking about freedom of speech as we live in a democratic country and everyone wants freedom of speech and it's I guess it's a right as we are law students, so I should not say that I guess, but yes, it's a right, it's a fundamental right that everyone has a freedom of speech. So starting with the video, we'll be explaining freedom of speech and how the current situation of the country hinders it, and how our media and how the other political influences and other factors provides hindrance to freedom of speech. So let's start. And as we all know that the unrestricted flow of information is the moral foundation of democracy. Without free flow of information, the functioning of society will start to deteriorate. For instance, if we think that our government starts controlling and censoring information, the democracy would soon in turn into autocracy and factors like corruption would start to prevail. The citizens would not be addressed as citizens now. They would be, I guess we could call them servants. So what freedom of speech says? Now Article 19 subclause A, subclause 1 subclause A of the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to freedom of speech and expression. However, Article 19 subclause 2 of the Indian Constitution also puts a reasonable restriction to it. But as we stick to Article 19 subclause 1 subclause A, it gives the right of freedom of speech and expression. And in recent years, the world has witnessed instances where the government has tried to censor and control the flow of information. Obviously, in some cases, it's been done, and it was deemed that it was clearly arbitrary. Now people have restored violent steps in order to protest against these types of censoring. However, most of them have forgotten that why these rights were made available to them. Now many of us exercise this right as a tool of influence people into wrong activities or into incite violence, as freedom of speech and expression is considered not just a human right but a fundamental right, as I mentioned it earlier. Now calling it a fundamental right has a deep meaning to it. Hence the reason behind which we call this our fundamental right is that freedom of speech and expression forms the foundation for other rights. It's a basic level. Now freedom of speech and expression forms foundation for human rights. It helps people to articulate opinion when their thought seems to differ. An effective media has a right to cover and report something is also possible because of this very right of freedom of speech, and it ranges from as minute as a conversation between two people to political campaigns or by top politicians of the country. All of this is covered under freedom of speech. Now another reason which we will take into consideration, so it is voice of minorities are not left unheard. It seems that voice of minorities are often suppressed. To tackle the problem, right to freedom of speech and expression was introduced earlier. By giving these right to minorities, we assure that their voices are not left unheard and they are not exposed to exploitation by the majority of other people. Now this particular right allows these unpopular people in the society to advocate their views along with the community to which they belong. But is it really happening? Like, if you guys know the answer, please do mention it in the comments. Now moving on to the third reason, it is that informed citizens results in fairer elections, as we all want that our elections should be fair, but how it is working? So freedom of speech and expression allows people to take informed decisions, and taking informed decisions is a very important part of our democracy. Now for instance, informed decisions are very important while choosing our leaders. Elections give huge amount of power to certain individuals, so we should choose them wisely, and it's very very important. Often we see that there are some instances in rigging elections. Many of political parties engage in various types of malpractices. All of this comes into limelight because of freedom of speech and expression. Now, many political parties also influence people through hate and species and false agendas, which is very unhealthy for a democracy to function. Freedom of expression is regarded as a core value in democracy and is particular fundamental right. Now, we should check in some of the cases. So, another reason which is it is free press. In today's scenario, press is not only limited to newspapers or news channels or television. It is extended to our social media, for example, YouTube, some of the blogs, Twitters, etc. Now, press can freely report in a country without restrictions is because of this very fundamental right. Press is the reason behind active participation of their people, and it is their respective communities. Through press, people can information regarding public interest, and it allows them to keep themselves updated, and also helps them to get informed around the events happening around them. So the last reason which I would like to mention is that press is also a reason for promotion of art, open criticism, and also for humor. Now, freedom of speech and expression is only not limited to journalism. People often report to steps like protest to criticize the government. The world has also witnessed the rise of stand-up comedies, cartoons, a theater to mock steps taken by government. Now, why does government not censoring this? Why censoring only happens in the news channels or in the scandals which in which the people can make the government guilty? And not censoring this, it promotes a vibrant culture and sense of unity. Now, it also allows academic scholars to conduct their study with freedom of for better understanding of their past, present, and sometimes future also. So, in my opinion, promoting this kind of culture will allow artistic engagement from around the world, and one should not suppress the freedom of speech and expression. That's all for today. Thank you.